Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. How are you doing today?
I am doing well, thank you for asking.
All right. That's good to know.
Yes.
I'm
How are you?
down. I'm at home. I'm not feeling well, but I'm here.
I hope you're on the mend
Yay.
soon. I hate to hear
Uh,
that you're not feeling well.
Oh, it's a little thing. That's all. It can be done in a few.
I will let.
And I hear is Chair McFadden not going to be with us today?
I'm expecting him,
Oh,
unless Dr. Jenkins knows otherwise.
I do not know otherwise. Yeah, I'm expecting him as well.
okay, that's cool. Good morning. Mr. Turner, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for asking. How are you? Sorry to hear you're not feeling
Absolutely.
well.
Yeah, comes with old age.
Well, hopefully you make a fast recovery.
Oh, I have to. Gotta be back in school tomorrow.
We'll try not to keep you on too long today.
Eh, my wife will just come up with more work for me to do.
Looks like I'm seeing several presenters join us. Okay. I see another commissioner has joined us. Welcome, Doc.
Good afternoon.
I give it a minute and 30 seconds to see if we can allow for our chair to join.
Hey, Commissioner Lallinger there?
Mhm.
Yes,
Peace. How you
sir.
doing, bro?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Okay. I'm
All
here.
right. Good. Okay. How was school today?
I was off today. I'm not feeling well.
Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but that's
All right.
okay. I'm back tomorrow.
Okay. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, ruining more young minds and
I hope not, sir. I hope not. All right, good afternoon. This is Committee Chair Kalila Slater Harrington. I would like to welcome you all to our first Teaching and Learning Committee of this school year, September 3rd. If you have not already done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, present.
Commissioner Dr. Stephen Lallinger.
Commissioner Redding Lallinger, present. Good to see you all today.
It's a jur. I apologize.
Soft G, it's all good.
Chair Ronald McFadden.
McFadden, present. Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, what a treat. I didn't see you. Okay, great. Welcome, Chair. Well, I'm excited to kick off today's meeting. Before we get into it, I just want to take a moment to recognize that next Tuesday, in 5 days, sorry, not next Tuesday, but on September 8th is a significant day in the field of education. It is International Literacy Day. It's a day that is recognized worldwide to emphasize the importance of literacy as a matter of dignity and human rights. And it raises awareness about the literacy challenges and to promote the need for more efforts toward improving literacy rates globally. I also want to take an opportunity and do some ground setting. If you are looking at or have seen today's agenda or updated agenda, you will note that our board goals are listed at the top. They are listed there so that they are at the forefront of all of our minds. And both visually and to ground us and why we're doing this work together in this committee. As our teams who work so hard to bring forth presentations that are both engaging but aligned with the board priorities, I don't want to lose sight. Those priorities are in place to realize so that we can realize our goals. And so as we talk about World Literacy Day, I'll draw your attention to the work that we're trying to do to increase the percentage of students proficient on the MCAT and ELA assessments. We recently had a wonderful presentation before the board on the August 27th board meeting that showed some very inspiring results. And it is upon all of us to make sure that we're continuing our collective action to that end to realize our goals. With that said, I will pause and offer our chair, McFadden, if you have anything before we jump into today's presentation.
Thank you, Chair Slater Harrington, and I appreciate the time. I do not want to belabor the time in the presentation. However, I think that it is right for you to ensure that these 4 explicit goals are outlined at the top of our agenda. That is a nice practice, hopefully, that other committees will be able to follow and structure the agendas with as well. And, you know, it's important that we all, to your point, it's one thing to have goals, right? It's another thing to monitor them actively. And so I appreciate the spirit of this going there, as that is a focus of the board, making sure that not only do we have goals, but we're monitoring them. What does not get monitored does not get done. And it's important that at least we have those 4 at the top of this agenda to ground us. It's very helpful, and I'm looking forward to the presentation this afternoon.
Great, thank you, Chair. With that said, we'll move into our presentation today on a community school lead agency partnership. This is a subject matter that is near and dear to my heart, and I feel like I have friends and colleagues coming before us today to present. And it is also one of those key levers that I think that community schools is a key lever. It's one thing in a toolbox of many that will help us to realize our goals across, whether it be wholeness, reading, math, and graduation rates. And so with that being said, I'll turn it over to Chief Hike Hubbard, who will introduce her team.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Good afternoon, commissioners and staff. Today, we're bringing forward with Holly Gonzalez and Sheila Drummond, CAM, our presentation on lead agencies. And we have Chris Battaglia, who's our Director of Community Engagement, along with us. I want to be clear what this is and what it is not, right? We have an annual update we are to provide about our lead agencies and the assignment between district office and lead agencies. And we have a little update just as well around community schools. But our compliance report for community schools, our data, our metrics, our work is actually an every 3-year thing. And so we're not in the compliance cycle, but we wanted to give you an update along with this. What you will also see forthcoming, not today, is a policy change because the state legislature changed some rules regarding community schools this past year. So you will see a policy update coming with those changes, both the definition and some required elements of the community schools policy that will be in a later presentation. So I also want to make sure folks know you won't see that today either. But this is really focused and grounded on our relationship with our lead agencies, so folks are clear about how the strategy is being implemented at the district level. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Holly to kick us off, and I will come back on at the end to answer any questions or support Holly as needed. So Holly, take it away, please.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Holly Gonzalez, Administrator for Community Schools, and I am here with
Sheila Drummond Cam, the Manager for Community Schools.
Hope you guys can hear both of us. All right. I'm going to share my screen and we'll begin. Thank you, Chief. All right. Okay. All right. So as Chief Hike Hubbard said, let's give it a minute to pull up. There we go. This is an update on community school lead agencies. We do this at the beginning of every school year, and it is very similar to the presentation we did last year. So in FY25, we have 159 schools and programs, and 97% of those are community schools. So we have 154 schools and programs that are community schools in FY25 this year. Of the 3% that are not community schools, 3 of those programs are co-located with our existing P-TECH programs, as you can see on this slide. There are 2 programs, the Home and Hospital program and the Middle Alternative program, that are not connected to a community school. So we're just kind of like starting off here by giving you kind of that broad landscape. We're going to go into this pie chart in much more detail in the coming slides, but around 2/3 of our system of community schools are with a community-based lead agency. That means they have community school coordinators who are hired by and supported by that organization. About 1/3 are hired and supported by the district. And then we have that 3% again that are not community schools. So we made a couple of maps here for you guys just to kind of take a look at. You can click through them if you have copies of the PowerPoint, we hope. This just shows the spread of community schools in Baltimore, and the yellow here is where the district has hired, City Schools has hired the coordinator, and the blue is with the lead agencies. And the second one, so let me come back here. We are, again, kind of going to go into more detail, but I love the rainbow. Oh, it looks like it's not sharing. That's fine. I love the rainbow map here. What it is showing is kind of like the diversity of our lead agencies. So here we have them. We have 13 community-based organizations this year that are serving as lead agencies for community schools. So they range in type, they range in the number of schools that they serve. We have here universities, community development corporations, a wide variety of nonprofits. And this is really one of the strengths of the Baltimore system, that our community schools are able to work with these partners that have a lot of local place-based expertise that they leverage to support our students and families. All right, so now we're going to go through them. You'll be able to read these slides kind of at your leisure, but we're starting off with this long list. So we have 3 lead agencies that serve 1 community school each. So that would be High, Civic Works, and Park Heights Renaissance. And then in the pictures over here to the right, you have some of the pictures from the Civic Works Back to School event. We have 2 lead agencies that serve 2 schools each, Access Art and the Movement Team. And then lead agencies with 3 or 4 schools include Arts for Learning, one of our newer community school lead agencies, and Bon Secours. And kind of like just in this snapshot here, you really see we have folks that have like arts and youth development expertise, like Access Art and Arts for Learning. We have Bon Secours, which does a lot of behavioral health and community development work. And we have Park Heights Renaissance that does a lot of, again, kind of community development work, and Civic Works, which is an operator, and also does a lot of workforce development. So again, some of the strengths of our system. All right, next we have lead agencies with 5 or 6 schools. So here we have Southeast CDC with 5. And in these photographs, you can see at one of the schools, they support John Rura. There's a food bank distribution going on. And at another, at Tench Tillman, it's actually them breaking ground for the new pre-K playground that they helped leverage the bond for with Senator McRae. United Way has 6 community schools, and these are tend to be in South Baltimore, although obviously Commodore John Rogers is in the eastern part of the city. And here in those photos, you can see a health fair happening at Vivian T. Thomas High School, as well as Call to Action with the Baltimore Ravens happening at James McHenry. All right, now we're getting to some of our larger lead agencies. So we have University of Maryland with 11 schools listed there, and then Child First Authority with 12. So both of these partners, as well as several of the ones I've mentioned, have been a part of the community school strategy for years. We really couldn't do it without them. Sheila's nodding. And in these photographs that they provided us, we have like the University of Maryland Back to School Block Party in Upton Druid Heights with the Fearless Dance Empire performance, and a photo of some of the Child First Authority community school coordinators. All right, finally, we have kind of like the lead agencies with more than 20 schools. So these are the largest group, and this is Elevate Baltimore with 22 schools. And some of the photographs you have here are actually from Midtown Academy, one of their newer community schools. You can see some tutoring going on, as well as some of the haircuts, which is a resource a lot of community schools will provide to students. And then the Y in Central Maryland with 28 schools. So they are, again, they are listed there. And there's some photos from a couple of the back to school events, one of them happening at Graceland Park O'Donnell Heights and the other at Ace High School. And again, like for us thinking through the 2/3 of our system that are with lead agencies, it is not possible to do this work without them.
I feel like she is so,
Hi, we need somebody to be muted. Dr. Swinbuck, is that you or? Okay, thank you. Please proceed.
Okay, great. No, we were just saying kind of like, you know, we really kind of couldn't do it without them. This is a huge strength to our system, and it is quite unique, Sheila, right? Like in terms of the state.
right. The state really looks to us because they wonder why we have lead agencies serve as the folks who hire the community school coordinators in Baltimore City, as opposed to just being the school system. And for the folks who started community schools here in Baltimore in 2005, it was an intentional effort to make sure that there were community-based organizations that were part of implementing the community school strategy, because that's the basis of the strategy. And so some of these lead agencies that you see here have been hiring community school coordinators for Baltimore City since 2005. And it brings, like Holly pointed out, the different kinds of lead agencies we have. They bring what they have as their resources as an organization to the table to help strengthen the strategy, to help broaden the kinds of resources that are available, and to make people more aware of some of the resources that we have in Baltimore City.
All right, so we did throw a slide in here that this is a lead agency update on the third of the system that is supported by the district. So here we go. We have 56 schools that we at City Schools hire, and Sheila manages all those community school site specialists. We've included some photographs here, including families engaging in some asset mapping at Lakewood, as well as a hearing assessment going on. We have the community organizing that you guys were at not a couple weeks ago with Mary G. Faring. And then there's a photo from last year from two of our newer community schools where we have the high school students from Baltimore Polytechnic volunteering and facilitating a STEM fair at Medfield Heights. So we just threw in some background. All right. So that was the update on our lead agencies. We also wanted to share with you some background on FY24 and how things went. Sheila, you want to do the slide?
One of the things that's really important to us is attendance, but I want to point out that how we make sure that at the end of every school year or at the beginning, we ask the community school coordinator, site specialists to self-report what committees they sit on, where they work within the school. And there, as you can see, we have folks on the attendance teams and folks on working with organized parent groups, or on the ILTs at their school, the instructional leadership team. They work with the student support teams. And so they all help to be a part of the school by working on those teams. The attendance team is extremely important. Some of our community school coordinators lead their attendance teams. Some of them are just members of their attendance teams, but that's really important for them to see and put in input for the kinds of interventions that are going into place right now as to making sure attendance is important at the schools. And so, like I said, these numbers are self-reported, but the majority of our coordinators do respond to these surveys and let us know what teams they sit on. It'll be great this next time if we can get 100% response to find out what teams they are on.
So we have some more FY24 updates for you. So one of them is in terms of partnerships. This is something as a strategy that we track centrally. And again, community school coordinators are the one entering this information. So we have these 7 focus areas where when there's a community school partnership, community school coordinators will say whether they focus mostly on academics and enrichment or attendance or these other pieces. This slide here, the gray is FY23, the black is FY24, shows you the relative numbers of partners in each category. I will give a caveat here that these are partnerships, not the total number of partners. So a partner like the University of Maryland, for example, might have partnerships with like 23 different schools, and but they're only one partner. So we just always like to clarify that this is the partnerships, not the unduplicated number of partners here. And this is really good because it's showing us that our community school coordinators really are building on that network of resources that we have here in Baltimore City. Next, we wanted to provide you guys with some updates from the Maryland Food Bank, also like our partner highlight. And so we have a comparison between FY23 and 24 here. Our total number of food bank sites at community schools decreased by 1. However, the pounds of food distributed did increase. And we also look at our family survey data, and we found, like in both years, 19% or almost 1 in 5 families request food resources as something that will help make their child successful. And so we do kind of keep an eye on this and use this data. One of the things we're doing this year is we've looked to see which schools have had increases in requests for food resources on the family survey and also are not the location of a food bank site. And we're going to be doing some additional outreach and technical assistance to those schools to make sure that they are accessing other means of food resources. So this could be a neighboring community school that has a food bank, or maybe a church or other location nearby. Community school coordinators are great at this, and we're pretty sure that they're all already doing it, but we want to make sure, especially where we see schools where the request for this resource is increasing. All right, so we're going to round out talking a little bit about some data and evaluation requirements before we get into the FY25, what's coming up. So our data collection system, hope what you take from this slide is that our community school coordinators are the base of it and the information that they report. But in FY25, we will be collecting the following data at the school level, and that includes the partnerships data, which is an existing report, leverage resources data, and wraparound services data, which is aligned to the existing reports that City Schools already uses. We will use the following existing data, including information from our student learning plans, which include a place to refer families to the community school coordinator, as well as like our Climate 2.0 dashboard. And in FY25, we will also, of course, be using our report from the American Institutes of Research to develop a system to track participation in community school services. This will be leading to our community school evaluation. And as we're building our system, as Sheila had mentioned, we are kind of serving as a partner to the state along with other LEAs in terms of like implementing and giving feedback on the design of some of those state level reports. All right, so Chief Hike Hubbard mentioned this briefly, that we are about to do a bit of a policy revision. So we have one slide on it, just to let you guys know the full presentation is forthcoming. We will be reporting on so we are now required to report annually on the numbers of students identified as needing wraparound services, students and families provided with those wraparound services, families, organizations, and community members who volunteer at the school, and also reporting the rates on chronic absenteeism, student disciplinary action, and strategies for reducing the rate of chronic absenteeism. There will also be financial reports that come along with these requirements. One of the things that we are very grateful for at Baltimore City is that we are part of a LEA and a school district that has resources that are already doing a lot of these things. So it's not starting from ground zero. We're able to build on existing work. All right, finally coming up in FY25. So here's kind of like 4 things we all have to look forward to this year. One is expanding on that community school coordinator referral system in student learning plans. This was piloted last year, and we will be using it again officially for some of our state reporting. We're going to be strengthening our partnership coordination through implementation of a partnership effectiveness rubric. We're also going to expand some of those school level partner meetings that are happening using a collective impact framework. All of our community schools will be submitting MSD implementation plans, as well as those new school-based reports on wraparound services that we mentioned earlier. And we are going to finally begin our evaluation of community schools. So it's exciting FY25. Sheila, do you have anything to add for the next slide?
I don't think so.
All right. In that case, that brings us to the end of our update. Any questions?
Thank you for that, Holly. I have questions, but I will be a good chair and open it up to my colleagues first to see their questions. First, starting with Kenyatta Bay, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Well, first of all, I would just like to say that there are 3 legs to the life of a student, and one is, success is built on first being there. So I'm glad to see the emphasis on attendance. The other thing is their academics. But the third thing is community. And what you've done has created an equitable playing field to build on. That being said, I have a question concerning our AOP schools, because their dynamics are a little bit different, and how that structure of creating community, because this is a greater need for community than almost anywhere else in our AOP schools. And I want to know, is there an emphasis or look at these schools? And I leave that to you to explain on that.
Holly, I'll jump in first and then you can back me up if you'd like. So I just want to clarify, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, the AOPs are not schools, they are actually programs. And how these community schools programs are funded is through the state. And so the state does not give us the resources to fund a community school coordinator at the AOPs. That being said, we have lead agencies who have partnered with those AOPs who are providing a community school strategy at those schools, despite the fact that the state does not provide the district any funding to support those programs at a community school level. Holly, you want to jump in and add any more to that?
Well, before you go on.
wanna
I
make sure
have
I'm
heard
clarifying.
two versions of that, by the way, that there are AOP schools that are traditional too, and so there is a mixture of AOP schools, alternative programming type of schools, and maybe not like was a hospital, was it home and hospital, but
Yeah.
there are schools that are directly tied to that are traditional that are kind of listed under the category of AOP because of what they provide, you know. But that's a
Okay.
discussion for another time.
Yeah. AOP stands for Alternative Options Placement, and it is for students who are overaged and undercredited. There are other programs, to your point, that do not have a coordinator like home and hospital, as Holly mentioned earlier. But our AOP schools, because of our community lead agencies who partnered with them, they actually have community school coordinators, but it is not through the CPG funding provided by the state. Holly, anything I've missed to clarify, please?
Well, just to say that, like, I've come back to the slide with Elevate Baltimore and the Y in Central Maryland on it, as they are the lead agency for the lead agencies that serve many of those AOP schools. So for Elevate Baltimore, Career Academy, Youth Opportunity, Eager Street are some of the schools that they serve as the community school lead agency for. And for the Y in Central Maryland, we have Achievement Academy as well. And so, yes, like, it is absolutely something where in Baltimore City, we've actually been ahead of the state in terms of this funding. And several of these have been had a lead agency and been a community school for a number of years before identified by the state. And I believe our lead agency partners are actually some of the folks who pushed on the state to expand concentration of poverty grant funding to our alternative programs. I don't know if that answered the question.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Chair Ronald McFadden.
Thank you, and thank you to the team for the presentation this afternoon. Certainly, we also just want to shout out our lead agencies, who some may be on with us this afternoon. Certainly, we can give them, just some thanks and gratitude for the work and the service that they do within city schools. With that, Holly, would you just, for the sake of public consumption and our stakeholders that are present and may watch later, would you illuminate what wraparound services are for our students?
Of course. So the state has actually defined 13 areas of wraparound services that are to be provided by community schools throughout the state. So I'm not going to get all 13 here, but they include things such as attendance supports, extracurricular and enrichment opportunities, safe transportation to and from school, additional behavioral health services, including potentially more social workers, mentors, and others, similar staff in school buildings. Yep. There's also going to be vision, dental, and hearing services are a part of that. And also professional development for staff at community schools and how to refer students to these wraparound services. We're happy to provide the full list of all 13 to the board, just kind of like via email. We'll follow up with you on that because I know I left several out.
It's not thank you for that. It's not necessarily for well, perhaps it could be for some board members who may need that information illuminated, but for the sake of, we have a lot of young people that are in community schools in Baltimore City. And I think it's just important when we mention those very important aspects of the work that we just illuminate them so that everyone can follow. And to know what's out there and the types of things that are offered in schools to support them, in community schools. I also want to, Chair, if I may, this is the last thought that I'm having. How are our community schools with these lead agencies utilizing their community schools funds and their budgets? And so will that come to us separately later outside of this particular presentation will it come in the compliance report? I know that each community schools receives specific funding for their school outside of their operating, or if they're Title I, it's separate from that. I'm just curious to know that with the lead agencies, are we tracking, and I know that we are, how the schools are utilizing their funds? Are there any opportunities? Maybe are there things that we're missing? Are schools utilizing all of the funds that they're receiving? Just some questions that I'm thinking through when we're thinking about funding with our community schools and with their lead agencies.
So I want to see if there's anybody on here kind of like from finance or anybody who would like to jump in on that.
While you're saying that, Holly, just give them a basic overview though, and then if finance wants to come on and add to it, that'd be great. So thank you for flagging it.
So what I will say is that how the schools, there is no difference whether you are a lead agency school, like you have a community-based lead agency or district hired, in how you spend that wraparound services dollars. Schools get standard guidance from the district in how to spend them, and we can reach out to our finance department kind of for some of that information. In terms of the community school lead agency, one of the things that comes out of the personnel grant for schools that choose a community-based lead agency is the contract with that particular organization, and that amount was set by an RFP, a public solicitation that we did here at the district. So those amounts are kind of like set. Yes.
Now, Holly, thank you for that. So that comes out of the community schools budget, or is that something separate?
So there are two concentration of poverty grant kind of funding streams. One is the personnel grant, one is the per pupil grant. The cost of the community school coordinator comes out of the personnel grant.
Got it. And so does that mean that some schools use, just help me out. So does that mean that some schools use a lead agency instead of a community school facilitator or coordinator, or are there both, and do both of them come out of that same stream?
Both come out of the personnel, and you will have a full-time community school coordinator, whether that person is hired through the district or whether that person is hired by the lead agency. That's the requirement.
Got it.
Yep. Full-time 12 months.
Yes, that's helpful information to have. And then the per pupil, that then is what school leaders have guidance for, to utilize those funds to supplement their school program to support the community school.
Generally, yes. For details on that, though, I'm going to let finance answer that question.
Yeah.
Or grants, finance or grants.
And I would just add, it's only a portion of the per pupil, right? They can use that for other things as allocated in the legislation for CPG dollars, but a portion of it can be used to support a community schools program. And then for further detail, as Holly said, we would need finance to help with that.
Thank you. That would be helpful to see. Perhaps it's laid out, whether it's in a future presentation, but I know that especially as we come around to budget, the time of the spring where we're really analyzing budgets, that information will be helpful just to have as we're thinking through that. That's all, Chair Slater-Harrington. Thank you all.
Thank you. And Commissioner Lallinger.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you all for the presentation. It's very, very illuminating. Keeping in mind, Chief Highcover, that you said this is not a compliance cycle. I appreciate that. We don't need to get into details, but I was hoping the team could shed a little bit of light on how you all think about effectiveness. And I know I saw on your last slide, evaluation is coming in this upcoming year, but just generally, how are you thinking about, and how are both lead agencies and then also community schools coordinators evaluated in terms of effectiveness? How do you think about how folks are delivering on what we ideally want to see out of a community schools model?
All right. So when it comes to effectiveness, the base the base. Are those like, sorry, I'm looking, she was here to my left. Are those items that are required by the state so that you complete a community school needs assessment that you have and that you are responsive to the needs you see both in that assessment as well as needs that may come up, because it's not just like you did this needs assessment 3 years ago and you are stuck with those things. So we expect community school coordinators to be assessing needs, to be open, listening, and in conversation with their communities. So that is students, families, staff, partners, neighbors, and community members around kind of like what that school and what that neighborhood needs and would like to see. And then when we create their community school implementation plans, and that was one of the things I put on the slide, is that we are moving to the MSDE format, and all schools this fall are in the process of completing their implementation plans. Like that is kind of like your 3-year goal setting, but also it breaks it down into more specific action steps. So kind of, are you following through on that plan? And kind of like, is that what we are seeing? Like, are we seeing you kind of like complete those activities, and what progress are you making on those goals you identify in there, is one of the ways to look at effectiveness. Our final evaluation has not been set, but we also have gotten a lot of feedback from our national partners, partner on the American Institute of Research on kind of like what impact, which is different than coordinator effectiveness, but what some of the impact studies have looked like in other districts. And we are considering that as we put together kind of the formal evaluation plan.
And as we put together that implementation plan, that mostly comes from the needs assessment. So they, as Holly said, they also talk to their community about what kinds of needs they have in order to kind of standardize that implementation plan a little bit. Every implementation plan will have a goal around attendance.
If I could just jump in quickly and add, we sort of in phases of evaluation, right? As Holly sort of illuminated, that the first phase is the implementation evaluation. Did we set it up? Did we hire the coordinator at every school? Did we have a needs assessment at every school? Do we have an implementation plan at every school? And then the coordinators, both our coaches from the district perspective and lead agencies, will coach them to make sure the implementation plan is done with fidelity. There is also just a general then output evaluation that we've been doing since then around number of partnerships, things secured, which is great because we know what sort of services are being provided, but that's still not getting to a bottom line of an implementation, understanding the effectiveness of the model and strategy. And so we actually contracted with AIR last year, as Holly indicated, as she was trying to dance around the edge of which partner, and you can say the partner, Holly, it's fine, to help us to develop, no, it's fine, to develop an outline of what other districts are doing around tracking success and what that looks like. And how can we use that then to get all the elements together to design our model? And so that's our goal this year, is to further design our model and be able to look at success. What is this like? If you have a community school in place, what does success look like? We do know, though, that many of our lead agencies and frankly, some of our district-led schools also track attendance, for example, as a way to measure. Like we are putting inputs in, and while we know it isn't isolated as the only thing that's impacting attendance, we can look at a correlation between the outputs of a community school strategy, either from a lead agency perspective and us, and see if it's improving attendance or supporting the reduction of chronic absenteeism. So we have been doing some of those things as well, but our formal evaluation will come. We also wanted to see what the state was going to require, so we could not build something and then have the state tell us, oh, we're going to do something else over here, but rather have it been done at the same time. So the state this year is also working on their evaluation metrics and plan. They'll be able to coincide with what we are developing. So it's one cohesive system rather than sort of recreating the wheel after the state decides how they're going to evaluate effectiveness. So I hope that's helpful.
That's definitely helpful from just thinking about evaluation from a programmatic standpoint. So thank you for laying that out. Chair, if I may, one more question, and then I will go back to you. From a sort of personnel management standpoint, is it the school leader that the community schools coordinator reports to officially and is evaluated by, or is that centrally, or is that also lead agencies have a role in that? Can you help me understand that piece?
So
I will say before letting Sheila go into detail, like it is we talk about kind of like in our operating procedures, it's co-supervision between the school leader and the supervisor at the lead agency or the district. So it is shared. And then Sheila can talk about the details.
And then for those folks who are hired by city schools, it's also a collaborative effort. Input is given by the principal, input is given by, we have coaches within city schools who work with a group, 18 to 19 different schools, and supporting 18 to 19 different coordinators. They also provide input into that supervision, and then that final information comes to me. And since I'm the manager of all of the community schools that we hire by city schools, I make the final decision as to what that evaluation or that supervision looks like.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So I wanted to jump into, hi family. I wanted to jump into a few questions. I know when we set out to do this work together in the beginning, when the district concentrations of poverty grant came out. And at the time, we thought very deeply about the district being a lead agency partner. And since that time, since we've gotten started on this journey, have you seen an increase or a decrease in the number of community-based organizations who are lead agencies? Have you seen an increase or decrease in the number of schools who are seeking to be district-led versus having a community partner?
So we've seen a decrease overall in the number of community-based organizations that are lead agency partners at this time. The percentage of school versus community-based or district hired versus community-based organization, I'll have to check, but it's stayed pretty similar year to year. So sometimes a school may switch from the district to a lead agency, and then a different school may switch from a lead agency to the district. So it's been both ways.
If I can add to that, Holly, so we have lead agencies who have seen an increase in the number of schools that they will take in, but not an increase in the number of lead agencies. And I think that goes to lead agencies having the ability to build the capacity in their own organizations to expand their number of schools they can support. And we have had to frankly counsel a few lead agencies who were not effective in their management to say, are you really up for this task? Can you do this? Are you supporting the school effectively? That counseling has also happened. But we are very lucky to have lead agencies who have been able to increase the capacity of what they can manage. But I think it's been a beautiful balance between the two, to be honest with you, because no lead agencies, we have too many schools for all lead agencies to manage them. And we do have somewhere that goes back and forth. I prefer a lead agency, I prefer school, or this way. And that's fine. We're able to offer both ways of managing the programs.
So as you did your benchmarking in the road up to evaluation to see what other districts are doing, are you finding that other districts have this hybrid partnership model, or are we unique in that?
No, we're pretty unique in that. That's why everyone is watching us. I think we have the best of both worlds. Because we have community-based organizations who hire our community school coordinators, but by having city schools also hire community school coordinators, we give our lead agencies a better connection to city schools. They know who the departments are. We can help them understand how city schools work. They now have access to Infinite Campus, and so they can use the data. All the community school coordinators have BCPS email addresses. So we really do have the best of both worlds because we have access now to community-based organizations that provide services within Baltimore City. And we also have access to different departments within city schools who also support the work.
I'm always excited about this work, and I could probably talk forever about it, but I'll say a couple more things and then we'll move on. I'll come back to you, Commissioner Kenyatta-Bey, in a moment. I'm interested to see how this plays out in the evaluation, this hybrid model, and what that looks like in the feedback that we get from the individual stakeholder groups on how they perceive that it is going. in Baltimore, we've always had a unique situation in that our community school strategy has been comprehensive of out of school time. And I'm flagging this here because this is something that I have persistently talked about, is how we're leveraging out of school time programs to help us realize our goals in reading and math and graduation rates. Like, how are we aligning them? And so, Holly, I was curious if in that number of partners that you had listed, was that inclusive of out of school time? And then when might this committee expect to see a presentation, or maybe it would be in safety and wholeness, but a presentation on how we are leveraging out of school time to help us reach our goals as a part of this larger strategy.
So thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. The answer to the first question was an inclusive OST, yes. And actually, when you look at our leverage resources, some of the largest amounts of leverage resources that community school lead agencies are bringing in are their after school and summer grants, either from the state or from like Family League or from kind of other funders that are providing sometimes $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 worth of resources for additional out of school time services. And so this is absolutely really important. We will talk to Jonathan about a presentation to you guys on kind of how we're leveraging OST in the strategy. What I will say is that at a recent conversation with community school supervisors, as we were doing some pre-planning around the implementation plans, talking about how like they were leveraging OST to support academic goals of the school is something that came up and was discussed. So also kind of post those plans, I think we'll have a bit more detailed information to be able to share back with you on how that is happening. But I will say, we don't actually have to wait for the plans, because I know just from the stories, the amazing work, that like it is happening right now. So we'll talk about when we can get that.
And Holly, if I can clarify that quickly, we are leveraging the partnerships, but we don't manage out of school or after school time from this department. It actually comes from the Wholeness Office. So I just want to be clear that if a full presentation on sort of what we're doing for out of school time, we would need to have the Wholeness team come and present their strategy around that. Although, to your point, Holly, we are leveraging with lead agencies or grants from the Family League or others through the community school strategy, the out of school time works. I just want to make sure there's a little bit of a delineation there.
Yeah, and I will say that we were approved this year. So there are sometimes requirements such as like enrichment and after school activities that must happen in the school budget. And for example, like MSD or Family League funded after school programs were something that could meet that requirement for a school in the past year, in terms of like another way we're leveraging that strategy to help meet the needs of schools. Just doesn't
right. And what I will say is, I'm not necessarily, if it takes, Jonathan, if it takes another presentation, understood. I'm not trying to create more work. If it can be aligned with a current presentation, we can do that. I know we can talk about a lot of this offline, but I just wanted to put that out there. I'm specifically looking for, there are tons of state and local and philanthropic resources that go into making sure that our young people have youth development programs after school. I see that as a great opportunity to be able to align, and we have got to figure out, like, I get it, Chief Highcover, this is not necessarily embedded in your department, but how do we get alignment with what those after school programs are doing with the many resources that we're here in this committee hearing, or the board is approving in terms of enrichment or supplemental resources that are happening? How are we leveraging all of that and the tremendous investment to help us realize our goals, or to accelerate our progress in realizing those goals? And so I'm flagging it here, and I'll flag it again as safety and wholeness, but I want to make sure that is top of mind for staff to, as they're preparing for future presentations on how we're going to address that. And I'll keep bringing it up and reminding us. I'm committed to that. Thank you, family. I want to, before I go, I see Commissioner Kenyatta Bay has a question before we go to the next topic.
Yes. First of all, I know that with this many people online. There are some people from our partners online with us here. And I want to say thank you because very simply, our scholars' development lies more than in the schoolroom. And the recognition and the effort that you pour into them, and I'm talking to our partners here, that you pour into them makes our village much stronger. And I want to just say I appreciate what you're doing. This community school model is growing. It is the roadmap that many school systems around the country are looking at, and for that, you deserve our applause.
Here, let's see. Make sure we can do some
Thank you.
applause.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted,
This-
go ahead, Chief High
I
Cover.
would say
you-
this team is outstanding. I mean, they all carry different talents, and Holly is my data guru pulling data. Sheila's my human relations person, and together they make the perfect community schools team. So I thank both of them for their dedication to this work.
Well job, team, and family, my family, and including you, George Clooney. We'll just keep you around. All righty.
Italia.
Right.
But also thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, for thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, for recognizing our partners. They have been steadfast in their work in supporting our schools, and I too am grateful, and I think I echo the sentiments of my fellow commissioners. I also wanted to recognize Commissioner Rooks, who has joined us. Welcome, Commissioner Rooks. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Great job, team, and I'm going to move on to procurement. We only have one procurement item on our agenda today, and I think I saw Shabray. There you are. Hello, Shabray.
Hello. Hello.
I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, well, as you said, we only have one procurement item for consideration today, and that is Anomi Inc. And I have Casey Mingle here to answer any questions related to the scope of work.
Great. Welcome, Casey.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, I'd also like to acknowledge, I believe, Jalima Alisaya, Denise Mabry, and Shanika Herndon, my partners in the Offices of Teaching and Learning, Strategy and Support for Students with Disabilities, as well as Denise Mabry, who does IEP creation and compliance work. They're all on here as well to answer some of the detailed questions you may have about Goalbook.
Great. Before I get started with my questions, I'll open it up to the other commissioners. Do we have any questions on Anomi?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Commissioner
Yeah.
Lerner.
Thank you. And thanks, team. Just real quick, can you give me a little bit of sense, a of the usage across the district? I didn't see any data on that, and I saw some. I think there was some effectiveness data linked to weekly interaction with the system, and so just give us a sense for any usage data that you might have on this, please.
Sure. So I want to make sure if Jalima and or Denise want to speak to this. This system at the present is not used broadly in our system. I believe there was some limited piloting, and I'll allow Jalima to speak to that. The evidence of effectiveness does largely come from other school districts, and we know that the vast majority of LEAs in the state of Maryland also use this tool to support with effective IEP creation. But I can let Jalima or Denise speak to how it's been used or introduced thus far in city schools, just to kind of get a temperature on the product.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. It has not been used
widely in city schools. If it has been used, it has been just some schools that have, tried this on. It is something that we have been looking at for a number of years to address just some of the challenges that we've seen with our special education teachers and being able to access, resources and strategies to support, best support their students with disabilities. It also, we're looking for it to help address some of the challenges that our special education teachers have with a lot of the case management duties, as this, just is a resource, a very robust resource that they can pull from. So our goal is to be able to support teachers and really streamline processes. But it has not been used widely at all. If anything, a school here or there, but not district strategy.
Great. So what have most teachers been using for support with IEP creation, and then also just sort of the regular tracking of goals to this point?
Yeah, so teachers, they are using, a lot of our district adopted assessments in order to draft present levels of performance for IEPs. But when it comes to things like progress monitoring IEP goals, they're often left to create things on their own. So we don't have anything that we have adopted like an Ames web or something that gives you CBA probes to be able to monitor progress towards those goals. And so what they're using now, unfortunately, is not apples to apples. And that's what we're trying to get to, so that you are able to progress monitor specifically the goals and objectives that you have outlined in the IEP with a probe that specifically lines to those goals, objectives, and the skills that are within those goals and objectives. And then it also gives like a bank of resources that teachers can pull from. And what they've been doing thus far is, they might take something from professional learning that they incorporate, but there's nothing that they can specifically reference other than like just different resources on the web and things like that, or being able to collaborate with their peers. So this really fills a gap for what we've been seeing thus far.
Thank you for that context. It's a little surprising that there hasn't been anything to this point. And I guess my last question is, do you anticipate wide uptake? I mean, is this something that we'll come back in a year and you'll say, especially our special education teachers across the district, we're really excited that we've adopted this and they have access to it, and we're seeing near universal adoption? Or what's your prediction here?
Yeah, that is our hope. And so we actually brought in some special education teachers and IEP chairs even before we brought this recommendation to the board, so that we can get their input. We gave them opportunity to kind of explore the resource and really hear from them. The teachers and IEP chairs that we did engage with were very excited about the opportunity. And so we are going to use this pilot as an opportunity to learn and study about the implementation before we go make a recommendation for larger scale. But yes, we hope that teachers walk away with saying like, this is a valuable resource, as they're already excited about what they've seen thus far and the potential for this resource for our young people, and for their ability to not only draft goals and objectives that align to the students' needs, but they're able to adequately progress monitor that in a way that is a little bit more streamlined and easy, and just more convenient for them, as opposed to what they've been trying to piece together now.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll go to Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Yes, Commissioner Dr. Lallinger, you'd asked my question. It was like the history, because having to implement IEP plans and goals has been a catch-all for many, many years. It's spelled out and sometimes in language that is confusing and different. But that brings me to my question is, yes, IEP chairs and those caseworkers that have a caseload of students may find this a valuable tool in their work. Teachers that general ed teachers, et cetera, who interface with special education, How is that interface looking to you moving forward? Because it has to be more than just a mandate. It has to be a living organism that teachers naturally move to. And I know this from experience. And even, I have my caseloads with MLs, but still, it's getting the general population of teachers to buy in. And do you see a buy-in potential that will go across the board?
Yes, thank you for that question, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. Yes, we hope that, teachers will really buy into this and embrace this. I really appreciate the approach to this and piloting this so that we can learn alongside of our teachers and get feedback from them that will help to really bolster this moving forward in a place where teachers will buy in because, it will be recommendations from their peers and also we hope to take the lessons learned through the opportunity of this pilot as we think about scaling this and even messaging this to teachers so that they do buy in more. We know in just hearing from our special education teachers and our general education teachers that there are just challenges with the amount of paperwork and the amount of just responsibility of making sure that there are resources and assessment probes and things like that really align to a student's individualized education plan. So we're very hopeful that after this year of learning and what the lessons that we gather, we're able to get momentum from that to be able to create greater buy-in. And I think the greatest thing that comes from buy-in is that their peers will be advocating for this based on their own personal experience and use. And we plan to be able to leverage that as we share this more broadly after this initial year of implementation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a questions, but I see that Shabray has her hand up, so.
Yes, I just wanted to share that it looks like Northwood Elementary and Franklin Square have purchase orders for Anomi for this work.
So we already have some individual interest from schools. This sounds, I'm sorry. Chair McFadden, do you have any questions? Okay. Commissioner Rooks, do you have any questions?
No questions for me.
Okay, thank you. This sounds wonderful in terms of a resource for our educators of special ed. And to Commissioner Kenyatta Bay's point, it has some real relevance beyond just the creation of IEPs, but the strategies. And so I'm wondering what that looks like in terms of licensing, what kind of access will, educators, or are we identifying a tool, or how are we just, as a regular ed teacher, they need strategies because, for everybody to make sure that all of our learners can learn. The second thing is, and forgive me if I've missed this, who are you targeting? What schools or what characteristics are you targeting to be a part of this initial pilot?
Can I maybe pass the first one to Casey? I'll answer the second one, but just around suite of resources. I believe that we are looking at the full suite of resources within Goalbook.
Correct. So what we wanted to make sure from the jump, even if it's not every single teacher in the district right away, that we do have access to be able to scale. So we wanted to make sure that the contract allowed for the full suite of options that would cover all general and special educators.
How long is this? So we're saying that this is a pilot. How long do you, the contract is until 29, correct?
Correct.
So we're getting into contract with them and understanding that we will expand across between now and 29, correct?
Of course. Yeah. The goal
Okay.
certainly is to expand again. I mean, we have seen it's almost every LEA in the state of Maryland uses this tool. It comes quite highly regarded. And, you know, we even engaged in sort of a demo with the team. There's a lot of promise and potential there, but we needed to give ourselves the time and the runway. Sometimes a 3-year runway is not enough to get to everybody, you know, so we wanted to make sure that the contract terms made sense and gave us the time to really dig in and do the work in partnership with schools. So hence the sort of full scope that we're able to access and the amount of time that we wanted to make sure was there in order to get this right.
Great, thanks.
And-
Jalima, can you speak to who you're targeting and what that rollout plan might look like?
Absolutely. And so similar to what we have done with our phase 1 Reveal Math Schools, is we want to be very intentional around how we specifically identify schools to be able to engage in this. And so with that, engaging other stakeholders into the conversation, those in the Chief of Schools office, as well as Teaching and Learning and the Office of Special Education to engage to identify some potential schools for this pilot. I know one of the things we want to look at is like the number of initiatives that at a particular school. So there are lots of different factors to really consider. We also need to understand, you know, our special education SPP goals and where we're seeing movement and where we're not around our metrics that align to our students with special needs. I will also say too that we want to identify a variety of different schools so that we understand what implementation looks like at a school that is a traditional school as opposed to a school that might be a separate public day school or have a citywide program. So we are just, we haven't identified the schools yet, but those are some of the considerations as well as buy-in. We want to make sure that teachers and school leaders welcome the opportunity to engage in this, especially at the onset. We'll probably stay away from some of our Reveal schools, especially when school leaders say it's just a little bit too much right now. So all of those things we're taking into consideration as we identify the schools.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Casey, I see you.
So
unmuted.
no other question, but I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Jalima said. And so in this initial year 1 of this work, the kind of depth of training that we're going to have to do with our central office leaders as well, and our school success liaisons that focus on special education, there's a lot of deep training and development that will have to happen in that space too. So a lot of this year 1 is really working closely with the few select schools so we understand what it looks like and the depth of training that has to happen here centrally in order for us to scale. We can't very well scale on the backs of folks who don't know. And so we really have to, you know, do a deep dive in that space too. So I just wanted to, you know, capacity wise, we've got to be able to do both and those things in year 1.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. Commissioner Kimyatabe, is that a new hand?
Yes, it is. Just real quick, as we talk about scaling programs, there are other costs that roll in. So this is a, you know, this bottom line number is, will it be increasing over this time span? And what do you see potential increase in costs to be if there will be?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Kimyatabe. We really did our due diligence to estimate what we would anticipate a total annual cost being. So no, I don't necessarily see coming back to the board for an increase. This really not only covers all of our teachers, should we just jump right on in, but it does also cover the professional development that's needed centrally. So no, I don't anticipate that. Likewise, I don't necessarily anticipate hitting the full 550 every single year, right? So there's a little bit of a balance there, but no, I think we tried to be very inclusive in the cost as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yes,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks, team, for that. We look forward to seeing it during the next board meeting. All righty, I'm going to move us along to public comment. We do not have any public comment today, but this is what I will say. Members of the public who would like to provide public comment to this committee can do so by signing up beginning 9 a.m. the Thursday before the meeting until 5 p.m. the Monday before the meeting date. Individuals or groups interested in providing comments to the committee may sign up one of three ways. They can contact our board office. They can visit the board office at 200 North Ave, or they can email at schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes, and we limit the amount of speakers to 5 people. All public comments should address teaching and learning related issues, and sign up is not permitted the day of the meeting. In addition, the chat function during our virtual meetings will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback or answering questions from the public. If you have follow-up questions or feedback and did not sign up in advance to provide them during the committee meeting, please send an email to the school board office and they will respond, see to it that staff respond to you. All righty, thanks for your participation today. Before I close it out and adjourn, just want to check back with commissioners. Does anybody have any announcements or closing thoughts that they'd like to share?
When is National Literacy Day again?
It is September 8th.
Yeah, that's my birthday. Yay. So
Yeah,
I guess
that
I'll
seems
become literate
appropriate.
by then, right?
Hopefully, no, it seems appropriate. Happy birthday in advance. Anyone else? Chair, you good?
I'm fine. Just happy early birthday to Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. And I believe that this is Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger's first Teaching and Learning Committee meeting. So welcome to the committee. He jumps right in, a great asset. We're happy to have him on board.
Right.
And also to Commissioner Rooks. I don't remember Commissioner Rooks joining us in Teaching and Learning. So welcome to the eager student commissioner who's with us.
I love it. I love it all.
Thank you.
All right. Well, our next meeting will take place on October 1st. Same time, same channel. So I look forward, thank you to each of your rigorous and thoughtful participation. Thank you for the presentations and the hard work that went into them, the diligence that went into them. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. We're adjourned.
Peace.